The aim of this comparative study is to evaluate the development of the musical film genre over time in the 1952 film Singin' in the Rain, directed by Gene Kelly, and the 2016 film La La Land, directed by Damien Chazelle. Both films portray the huge difference between the world of fantasy and reality, juxtaposing the film world with the real world, expressing the genre through a technological cultural context. Characters in the musical genre express their most intense emotions through song and dance choreography, displayed in a stylized convention. The film Singin' in the Rain marked a new era of modern musical film cinema. It examined society in 1927 during the new talkie era through the eyes of those living in 1952 and reflects upon itself in this light.
My voice has been recorded on a record, a talking picture.
Don, the main character, falls in love with the reluctant Kathy Selden, a dancer who becomes the voice actress of his co-star Lena Lamont, whose voice was perfect for silent films, but highly inadequate for both speaking and singing in talkie films. The musical films through the 1930s and 50s were often glamorous and over-the-top, showcasing extremely elaborate set pieces and typically were happier films to placate audiences after World War II. The songs were more upbeat and featured brighter, happier colors. A more contemporary interpretation of the technological cultural context is presented in the film La La Land, which displays a different take on perfect love without a fairy tale ending. This modern cinema classic shares a possible truth as the protagonists face the challenges of following their dreams in the film and music industry whilst falling in love. Mia, a struggling actress, meets Sebastian, a jazz pianist, as he's being fired from his mediocre job playing Christmas tunes. Their relationship, filled with tense hostility, blooms in the midst of cinema fantasy. Formalist musicals make no pretense at realism. Characters burst out into song and dance in the middle of a scene without easing into the number with a plausible pretext. I'll present the portrayal of the technological cultural context through the following arguments. The two films blur the lines between fantasy and reality. The films are movies that remind us we are watching a movie, and formalist elements convey characters' emotions, juxtaposing dreams against realities. Firstly, both films demonstrate the technological advancements in editing to show the musical genre shift from fantasy to reality, blurring the lines between them. The director presents all the visual elements on the screen through the use of special effects. These highlight the technological advancements in cinema through the evolution of artificiality and its adaptation of the use of green screen in order to create more realistic fantasy. With editing, Singin' in the Rain primarily focuses on the montages of newly made advertisements, made possible using non-natural bright lights, creative displays of products, and fixed animation, accentuating the discovery of technology. La La Land's take on technological advancements focuses on the dreamlike love of Mia and Sebastian when they fly into space at the planetarium, which they visit after seeing the movie Rebel Without a Cause at the cinema. Green screen scenes are far smoother in the visual editing process now thanks to more recent technologies. Topped with more realistic features, this makes their love appear magical during the song. As well as providing the use of editing fade-in, fade-out effect, in and out circle transition used throughout both films as they portray the old Hollywood cinematic feel, but also a visual show of technology's evolution. The use of text is also prominent in both films, which display the film's title at the beginning and at the end, and conclude with the classical words, "The End," using the 1920s and 1930s Art Deco style font, giving La La Land the old Hollywood feel, much like Singin' in the Rain. This keeps the audience in mind and openly lets them know that they are viewing a film which is not real, as both films are about films and filmmaking. Adding on, La La Land's use of text as a timeline to inform the audience when everything is taking place throughout the year demonstrates technological advancements, but also highlights the unreal nature of the movies, which don't usually run in real time. Secondly, both films depict the musical genre shift from fantasy and reality through its mise-en-scène. In Singin' in the Rain, Don is placed in a scene where he tells Kathy how he feels, through the use of different set pieces in the real world, such as artificial lights, fan, and backdrop, which are clearly visible as he begins to sing. This reminds the viewers and confirms that they are watching a film. Later on, we witness an actual movie sequence with Dawn and a different lady dancing in the same environment, also placed against a pink and purple backdrop. The breeze created by an industrial fan, and the moonlight is a well-placed spotlight. This time we don't see any of the background set, fans, or technology pieces. We are now encompassed by and fully transported into cinema magic. The Broadway melody later in Singin' in the Rain references "You Were Meant for Me." Through its similarities, the backdrop still features the same colors of the sunset, but is now spread across a sizable soundstage. Likely with La La Land, the audience receives a sneak peek of the set that is used later on, when Mia and Sebastian stroll past a film being produced, Willis talking about their dream careers. You see the production of the sets beforehand, and then the magic created in and on the sets, as part of the alternative ending of Mia and Sebastian ending up together during the song titled Epilogue. Taking the approach of a nostalgic cinematic feel, where the characters experience their perfect life together in a colorful, altruistic, artificial city set, emphasizing fantasy versus reality. The reality being the two protagonists don't end up together, as they wouldn't have been able to follow their dream careers if they'd had. The film also clearly experiments with the use of overlays and newly made technology for the creative deployment of its cinema, which wasn't invented at the time of Singing in the Rain, borrowing the assemblage of neon signs and soft red and yellow color scheme. It strongly resembles elements from Singing in the Rain's Broadway melody ballet. This approach of the Broadway melody is Singing in the Rain, where the audience gets a sneak peek of Don's idea of his next big film, with his creative ideas displayed on screen. The main idea being that it would be big and bold just the way he had dreamed, turning his fantasy into our reality. Another approach is when Mia and Sebastian stroll past a row of different scenes being shot on film sets, which is reminiscent of a scene where Don and his pal Cosmo, Donald O'Connor, do the same. Passing by the different sets heightens the contrast between fantasy and reality, the reality of the characters walking, but the fantasy of the scenes created in the sets behind the characters. Thus, we revel on the beauty of cinema magic. Lastly, through the use of cinematography, the characters slowly transition from the real world to the singing and dancing world. For instance, in Singing in the Rain, Don performs his famous dance routine while in the pouring rain, presenting the ecstasy of his love for Kathy as he spins around lampposts, splashes through puddles happily, and leaps ecstatically through a pelting rainstorm. The sequence displays a wide range of emotions through the use of a range of angles and further framing from the character, with each kinetic change representing the character's feelings of love.
I've a smile on my face.
Although the cinematography at the time was presented through a more outward form, in which the audience doesn't gain a huge amount of intimacy with the characters, the film generally presenting itself through an omniscient perspective. A similar encounter comes upon Sebastian's character when realizing his deep feelings towards Mia's character in La La Land. Sebastian proceeds to pour his heart out, singing and dancing endlessly whilst the camera follows the performer in one full shot of the scene, no cuts, presented through a more intimate form.
This is the start of something wonderful and new.
Everything seems brand new, exciting and fresh when in love. The scene composed with medium shots and soft lighting in the background from the pink sky articulates Sebastian's feelings, coupled with the focus on what's around in the scene and not only on Sebastian himself. The Panavision makes everything feel soft and slightly out of focus. The audience isn't forced to look at any certain thing, but rather the thing that captures our eye. Thinking a lot more closely about camera technology used for cinematography and film. Lighting throughout scenes tend to articulate characters' feelings. Lighting can be used to spotlight a character and make the audience focus on them, typically used more now in modern cinema. Whether it be a moment of self-reflection as in a mirror or amongst friends, the use of color also provides atmosphere in storytelling, intensifies emotion, and emphasizes meaning, explaining the character's motivations to the audience. A film's ambience, tone, and visual contrasts all changed when film converted to color. In La La Land, lighting and color is used to spotlight Mia's sadness and isolation, emphasizing her emotions. This lighting ends up creating visual metaphors. For example, red equals strong feelings of love and passion. Pink can equal the delicacy of love, such as Kathy portraying the epitome of love, seemingly magical, and yellow or gold representing joy and happiness. Using the camera to highlight the character's mood, and the sets in the background also highlight the importance of where the character is. In conclusion, Singing in the Rain and La La Land both fall under the category of musical films presented over time in a technologically advanced cultural context for their respective times. They equally present the concept of a world where fantasy and reality are in sharp but thoroughly enticing contrast.